Roundel designs media experiences and solutions that connect 165 million plus target guests with the brands they love. Through tailored partnerships and data-driven strategies, they deliver impactful results that elevate campaigns, maximize reach, and drive growth, ensuring brands are present in all the right moments and central to helping target guests discover the joy of everyday life. Discover how Roundel maximizes campaign results by visiting roundel.com.
Hi there, I'm Asa Hyken, technology reporter at Ad Age, and welcome to another episode of the Marketer's Brief podcast, our weekly discussion about marketing news and trends that have the industry buzzing. Today's guest is Jerret West, Chief Marketing Officer at Roblox. Roblox is a social gaming platform that has emerged into a video game giant, serving more than 85 million daily active users who are, on average, spending over 2 hours per day on the platform. Roblox has also become a destination for dozens of major brands targeting young consumers, which we've written about extensively. But today, we're going to discuss Roblox's own marketing efforts. It's tricky business to cater effectively to millions of gamers, but Roblox has the added difficulty of marketing to creators, developers, tech partners, and brands. Jerret is also relatively new in his role as a platform CMO, having been at the company for less than 1 year. However, he has quite the pedigree. Former CMO of Xbox, head of Asia Pacific marketing at Netflix, and he's brought lessons learned from these former experiences into his position at Roblox. In our chat, we discuss some of these lessons, how Jerret balances catering to multiple groups of audiences, the importance of integrating cultural moments to strengthen Roblox's engagement with users, the possibility of Roblox entering the movie space as we're seeing with Minecraft, and other topics. Now, here's my conversation with Jerret. Hey, Jerret, thanks for joining the podcast.
Hey, what's up, Asa? It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we write a lot about how brands are using
Mhm.
Roblox for their own marketing purposes, but today I want to focus on how Roblox does marketing. And, I think there's a lot to talk about here in terms of what Roblox has recently done, in terms of what it's looking to do in the future. But, to kick things off, tell me a little bit about your first year as Roblox's CMO.
Yeah, it's just coming up pretty quick here. So about 10 months on, and it's predictably been an awesome ride, but a little bit like riding a water slide that's 10 months long in duration, I guess you could say. So tons of activity and interesting things. I think the things that have struck me that have been surprises, though, are kind of verification of the size and scale and engagement of the community. So we're sitting on 97 million people that are showing up daily at this point. The average time is about 2.5 hours per person in there. So deeply engaged, really big. Like it's easy to see why brands are interested in trying to figure out ways to connect on Roblox. But for me, it's been amazing to see that that scale carries a lot of conversation for us on the marketing side. The other thing that has been really cool that I probably underestimated is how much work is going into the creator side of our marketing efforts. And coming from Netflix and Xbox, the video game space that's pretty mature, movies and TV obviously very mature. These are places where the businesses are pretty set and they're looking to build on those things. But what's been cool here is these creators are sometimes super young, but almost all of them are getting started in creating in their own small business. And they've decided to try to do that on Roblox because it's merging these passions of something around gaming, interactivity that they grew up with and figuring out how to help them grow business. And that ties back a little bit to, one of the things that our marketing strategy here is we really want to be the marketing arm for those creators. We want to help them build their businesses in big and meaningful ways and tell their stories. I think we can build our brand through that content pipeline and story set of stories. So that's been a really pleasant surprise because I probably underestimated how unique the creator community is here.
Yeah, I guess it's a little underestimated that, you sort of there's a lot that falls under your purview, but handling small businesses,
Mhm.
very possibly for young people, or at least
Right.
facilitating those small businesses, does that feel like a lot of pressure?
it feels very humbling, to be honest with you. I'm sitting here watching people who are of like what at this point 2 generations removed from me, and they're having conversations that are about net profit. How do I maximize revenue? Are you launching these products because I want to figure out geo pricing or dynamic pricing? And I'm continually amazed by how incredible and unique and sophisticated these youngsters are.
So let's talk about audience. How do you think about who you're targeting your business towards, right? You have any number of groups that you could be focused on, be it young gamers, tech-savvy developers, young people or running businesses, brands wanting to get on the action. How do you yeah, how do you sort of break this down and know, okay, this is our target audience for this marketing purpose. This is who we need to target next.
Yeah, it's that feels like the story of my career. I've been the beneficiary of working at places, marketing at places that are hyper scale. So it's really tough to say this is your micro segmented audience or specific group of people. When I look at the two parts of the world for me, creator, it's pretty easy because it is straightforward. You've got your established businesses that are Roblox creators, and then you've got the emerging hobbyist creators that we want to grow into. So that's two clearly designated segments or defined segments. And then you've got off-platform creators, like all these people who are doing PC, console games, indie studios that are 5, 10 people. It's a perfect place to get dropped into Roblox and build out a Skunkworks team and build a game and start iterating on it with 10, 15 people. So you think about that off-platform creator, and you think about them in terms of the different sizes, all the way up to someone like a 2K Games or a Blizzard, perhaps something like that. So those segments are pretty easy to define. You can actually approach it in a more traditional marketing sense with primary and secondary audience segment, core messaging, positioning framework, messaging pillars, all of the standard stuff. When you flip to the player side of things, I think you do have to look at, well, what I've at least seen is you do have moments where you can aggregate and scale conversation by talking to everyone. And so an example of that would be the Hunt Mega Edition that we just did. So you're talking about hundreds of millions of people who visited that hub over the course of 11 days. And what you want to do is create a common experience that's fun and unique and big for the masses, if you will, or for those broad sets of audiences. When you get to smaller pieces of content, this is why I think content, building our brand through content is so key, because you can start to talk about segments based on the content type. And then you can find adjacent genres and the audiences that pool there. You can think about how you curate that content on the platform. You can think about how you target with performance media those particular audiences. So if you think about segments in the content space, we usually look at content type or game, content genres that it falls into, and then adjacent genres. And that usually gives you an audience pool that's large enough to, cover 1 million, 10 million, sometimes 100 million people based on how big the game is itself. So on the player side of things, we focus mostly on segments that are based on content genres or games.
So in a game that yeah, let's linger on the hunt for a minute. In a moment like that that is really catered towards a huge portion of
Yeah.
the Roblox usership, how do you decide on what kinds of content to include and really what kinds of content to exclude? Because I can imagine that there are a lot of gamers on Roblox who have their one little niche thing that they love doing. They love it so much, they're on it every day. But
Yep.
you don't have that in the hunt. They're going to be like, well, why would I spend time there and not in the game that I already love?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So for the hunt, we built out this big hub that had different gunters and things that you would have to go do. We picked 25 games, and the big thing for us was find games that are going to be super popular, obviously, and beloved, but give a wide span of experiences. So there's no one single area of expertise that any given person can dive into and dominate. And so it was a little bit unique because we gave away $1 million. And so we wanted to see literally who was the best all around athlete on Roblox, on the Roblox platform, not the best sort of first person shooter player or dress to impress player. But we were thinking of it more like, how can we find the decathlon player, the person who's touched a whole bunch of things, or the heptathlon player? And so the content manifested that way. That converged wonderfully with one of our big marketing strategies right now, which is expanding genres or thinking about different types of genres that you might not associate with Roblox, sports being one of them as a classic example.
So kind of like a Roblox Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's very much like that, decathlon, the Olympics, something that kind of shows how diverse your skill set is on the platform.
So, well, the Olympics is every 4 years, and so
I think I know where you're going with
I-
this.
I'm curious how you're thinking about these kinds of tentpole moments and the frequency with which to run them, right? You want to make them exciting, but you don't want to do one, every week because that I imagine users would just kind of get tired of that. So how do you sort of
Yeah.
think about making these things frequent enough to kind of gin up excitement for them each time?
Yeah, that's the downside of working in marketing on a hyper-scaled, deeply engaged brand, right? You have to constantly find out new and unique ways to have conversation and aggregate those audiences and find ways for them to talk about your brand. So yeah, we set definitely a new standard with the hunt. Is there a magic formula for timing and how that would all work? I think data will tell you a lot, but because we're new into this, we don't have a long ramp of data. So, but it's funny that you said tent poles. It's exactly the language that we use here. And how do we think about big cultural moments? We're really gravitating towards cultural moments that are a couple of things. One is, where is it that you can amplify a story that is taking off? We call that chasing heat here. So Dead Rail's perfect example. Back when Dress to Impress was taking off, you drop everything and you turn that into a tent pole. You figure out how you get brands involved, how you continue to extend the conversation in those instances. So those are opportunistic tent poles that just result from chasing heat. So that helps on your portfolio. Then you do things around creating conversation. We definitely know that live ops event style things like this are a perfect example of doing something like that. We also think that there's something there around telling a story around a genre or amplifying a brand experience that's really big. So if you think about the NFL universe, and Roblox, the idea of tent pulling that to talk about sports is a pretty compelling way for me. I haven't had a conversation with the NFL about this yet, but I'm using it as an example of another tent pole area that we know that we can take advantage of and build out a bigger conversation that people will talk about. I find that really fascinating too, because increasingly you can aggregate your entire audience, or you can find ways to tap into audiences that aren't necessarily thinking about Roblox as their primary entertainment mode. Sports is a great example of that. So there's really right now, we're seeing three different flavors of tentpole moments. One is chasing that heat and finding content that's breaking out. The second is big events or concerts or many different things like that on the platform. And the third is then parlaying and working with brands to tell that combined story.
Let's take a quick break for a message from our sponsor.
Roundel designs media experiences and solutions that connect 165 million plus target guests with the brands they love. Through tailored partnerships and data-driven strategies, they deliver impactful results that elevate campaigns, maximize reach, and drive growth, ensuring brands are present in all the right moments and central to helping target guests discover the joy of everyday life. Discover how Roundel maximizes campaign results by visiting roundel.com.
I want to stay on the gamer as audience point for just another minute. One thing that has surprised me in my conversations with various personnel at Roblox over the past couple of years is this recurring notion that Roblox is aging up, that a lot
Yep.
of the users are older than you would think, 17 plus. Can you tell me how you're thinking about catering towards a slightly older demographic, especially when Roblox tends to be associated more with younger gamers. So how do you
Right.
break that mold without shattering it into, pieces and therefore turning away all the young
Yeah.
people who would otherwise be on it.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is it's already occurred. 61% of our player community is over the age of 13. Our fastest growing segment is 17 plus. So a lot of that is kids who are growing up with the Roblox platform. And the cool thing about that is it's a UGC platform. So we don't have to go out and think about procuring content to cater to a specific age or demo or genre lover. It's happening naturally as our creator community grows up and as our player community matures, because then they see that, oh, wait a minute, our average sports genre player is 18 plus. They don't know that, but they're seeing opportunity and seeing, whoa, sports is an underserved genre on Roblox. I should start building games in that area. And it's a part of them as they're growing up too. So a lot of this is happening really naturally. I guess my big point here, Asa, is that you are going to be on safe harbor working in the content entertainment space if you keep relying on the content to tell your story and your brands and to help you manage across different demographics. If you don't have the goods in a particular genre for a particular age range, don't go after that genre. But for a UGC platform like us, we're seeing that content grow with us into different types of genres that are naturally older.
So when you are targeting your efforts on brands and brand partners, you obviously have to speak a different language to them than you would
Yeah.
be. You can't roll out the hunt for brands and be like, look, like come join us. But I will say that you kind of did something like that with the I think it was last fall with the Roblox. It was an experience for brands to see branded experiences, right?
Yep.
Isn't that kind of
Yep.
taking a page out of its own book,
Totally.
out of marketer's own book and kind of turning it back on them?
Yeah, you nailed it. And that's one of those spots where it's like you can showcase brands, you can showcase the different sorts of experiences that they're creating because they're creating some pretty compelling and cool things that are on the platform there in specific genres. I mentioned NFL Universe and how that's actually being run in partnership with the NFL. Perfect example, the SpongeBob Tower Defense game. Perfect example of how you blend a brand IP and into a type of game that plays perfectly on Roblox. So why not showcase those things? I think that brands are really compelled by the level of engagement. Obviously, that spread of younger demo all the way up into their teen years and young adult years, a very coveted demographic for marketers, and they are just on our platform really, really deeply engaged and very discerning too. So they're excited when a brand is on there. And 5 out of 10 top grossing movies last year had an experience on Roblox. And some of them are even starting to see commercial opportunities. So selling actual movie tickets via the platform or merch. So you think about the various popcorn buckets. I love what movie marketers are doing with just how to market a movie and bring that experience even to the movie theater itself. But think about the merch sales that you can accrue, and you can do all of that via Shopify on the platform too. So now there's a real ROI commercial opportunity in addition to actually bringing consumers back and driving awareness or excitement for your brand or your movie or show.
When you're marketing to these brands, what data points do you find to be most compelling to them? What do they really what do their eyes kind of widen at? Because there's so many different things you could probably tell them, but yeah, what really kind of gets them going?
I love these conversations. For me, I always start with I just try to think of like if somebody's just pitching me on Roblox and I was a marketer at Nestle or something like that, what's the first sets of things I'm going to ask? First off is what kind of audience shape and size do you have? And that's a pretty easy one for Roblox to answer. How engaged and what's the perception of the brand today? Pretty easy one for Roblox to answer on that front. Then you start to get to some of the more interesting things. Well, what are the ways that I can actually engage and creatively communicate with your audience or platform? And that's where it comes back to, hey, I'm thinking about creating an experience. How do I measure that? How do I think about the content? How do I keep it up and running? Or it's more along the lines of performance. I really want to understand the ROI that's on your platform because I'm comparing you directly against all the other performance media components things. So a big part of our last 12 months has been building out capabilities in both of those spaces. So we had an answer for that. You think about the performance marketing side of things, we just launched that rewarded ads product there. highly measurable, great ad tech, very targeted. And now you're into the space where it's like you can almost run a full stack media plan, creating everything that's top of funnel, like a experience, if you want, all the way down to things that you're measuring on a performance basis and trying to compare against other ad products and ad types. All of that in a place that's pretty one-stop shop because it's so big and so engaged. So I feel like that would be for me a pretty compelling marketing pitch when you're thinking about all these things. Of course, then you have a really talented brand partnerships team that's run by Stephanie Latham and Christina Wooten over here that are thinking about, right, well, what are the creative ways they're going to fit your brand that are really going to tie to a specific moment, a tempo that you're driving towards, or you're just trying to develop a brand and create some awareness for a specific audience that we know is on Roblox. So I feel like we have capabilities across all of those dimensions for a marketer.
So we're just about out of time here, but I do want to ask, just because it's so topical, Minecraft just released a full-blown movie. Is this level of content something Roblox would ever consider doing?
Well, for sure, we would never rule it out. The great thing is, having been at Xbox while the Minecraft movie was being developed and being so closely tied to all of that, and seeing how it was coming out, there was tremendous institutional patience to wait for the right idea and the right partner and Warner's to work with on that front. So I'll say that at the outset, that it's not as simple as just being like, well, shit, that worked. We definitely have to do something like that too. It requires great institutional patience to make sure you're building something great. Personally, I think what we're going to see first, though, is our IP breakout and start to build TV shows and movies and do different things that are tied to a specific IP, because some of these games are getting really, really big right now, and it's a really, really exciting space. So I'm very compelled by that, having come from that particular world. But I bet you, if you and I were betting men, I would say I would take the side of our IP jumping into this and trying to find something that's a good movie first.
Well, that's, I guess, the next lesson that you need to teach these young creators is how to talk with movie executives.
Totally right. You're not wrong. There's a lot of movie executives that are super excited to talk to them too.
All right, Jerret. Well, that is our time. Thanks so much for joining the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
You bet, Asa. Thanks for taking the time and hanging out with me for a bit.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining Ad Age's Marketers Brief podcast.
Marketers Brief listeners get $40 off an adage.com subscription. Sharpen your marketing edge and visit adage.com/brief for your discount.